Versatile Mage. Chapter 631. Little Flame Bell, Friendly Fire Mode on. The first dark beast that was eager to make a big impression sprang forward. Its long claws emitted an icy flicker in the cold rain, while hooks sharp enough to sever a human's arteries were hidden under the sharp claws. Mo Fan remained stationary, while Lu Ru suddenly appeared in front of him. Lu Ru had also clenched her hands into claws and waved them in the air. 5 deep glowing slashes the color of blood swept forward, tearing the impatient dark beast into a few segments. The dark beast was still in the air when its body split into several pieces, falling before Lu Ru's feet. Its filthy blood and organs splattered across the ground. "Go, all of you," yelled one of the black clergy. The commands from the black clergy were infused with a curse. The dark beasts unwilling to obey them would suffer enormous pain inflicted on their souls. Black shadows moved rapidly in the surrounding area. The dark beasts, who preferred to attack their targets sneakily, would make use of the opportunities given to them through the sacrifices of their comrades. Their speed was like leopards to humans. Both their movements and attacks were too fast for humans to react, but Lu Ru's agility significantly surpassed that of these dark beasts. To her, these dark beasts were like mechanical puppets. Not only was their speed when jumping, crawling, pouncing, and scratching extremely slow and stiff, but their approaches when attacking were also too predictable, with similar patterns. Each time they were going to attack, they would first jump from one spot to another before pouncing on their target. Lu Ru easily predicted their movements as they crawled and leaped. She simply killed each of the creatures instantly before they could inflict a single scratch. The dark beasts were completely useless despite their numbers. Lu Ru had easily killed a dozen of them with ease. Suddenly, a quick shadow swept by and appeared when Lu Ru was distracted by 4 dark beasts flanking her from different directions. The shadow was followed by a curse mark, which emitted an evil glow as the figure swept past like a flash of lightning. The mark further increased the creature's speed. Lu Ru was unable to dodge in time. Her pale neck was sliced open with a deep cut. Some girl among the villagers immediately screamed. The woman in the mink coat said to someone beside her with a hollow laugh, "It seems like you can only enjoy her without her body temperature." However, the words were still lingering when she shockingly discovered that the girl whose throat was sliced open suddenly exerted great might, grabbing the ankle of the cursed beast that ambushed her. Lu Ru totally ignored the wound on her throat. She grabbed the cursed beast in midair and slammed it down on the cement road. The road was cratered. Half of the cursed beast's skull was broken, and brains flowed out. The cursed beast was as tough as a cockroach. It was still alive even after its skull was blown open. However, Lu Ru did not give the cunning creature any chance to escape. A crescent saber made of blood appeared in her hand, and she swung it at the cursed beast's neck. The blood saber immediately beheaded the cursed beast, and Lu Ru kicked the head away like a soccer ball, hitting another cursed beast that was planning to attack her. Following her actions, the cut on Lu Ru's throat had already healed magically. Not a single drop of blood was seen, and on top of that, the skin was as white and tender as it was before. The other few black clergy were dumbfounded. They had never seen a woman whose throat was sliced open fight like her. Besides, the woman was not even using magic. Her blood claws, strength, crescent saber, and wind lashes was some impossible power that did not belong to a human. Blood tribe. The deacon was fairly knowledgeable. She immediately deduced Lu Ru's identity, and her eyes widened as she snapped, "Don't just stand there, attack and kill them at once." The dark beasts were simply a bunch of flies and mosquitoes harassing a fierce tiger. There was no way they could harm her, so it was only a matter of time until Lu Ru wiped them all out. The cursed beasts were the real threats. If Lu Ru was a tiger, those cursed beasts would be fierce wolves. Lu Ru was already aware of the cursed beast that had tried to ambush her. She had purposely exposed an opening so that she could eliminate one of the cursed beasts. "Why do I feel like you've grown stronger again?" Mo Fan was astounded when he saw Lu Ru killing a warrior-level cursed beast instantly. Your blood is rather special. It can help me evolve every once in a while. In order to guarantee the purity of my blood and strength, I decide to only drink your blood," replied Lu Ru. "The right milk formula, the kind that you can drink without worrying," blurted out Mo Fan. Lu Ru did not have a chance to respond to Mo Fan's remark, as the other 6 cursed beasts attacked her simultaneously. They were indeed cunning, as they intentionally hid the cursed marks so they would look the same as ordinary dark beasts. They would only trigger the power of the curses when they were attacking. "Little Flame Bell, come out and help your Aunt Lu," said Mo Fan, casting the contract summoning. As he thought, he was only halfway through drawing the star pattern when Little Flame Bell came out from the contracted space on her own. Mo Fan had already anticipated it, thus he simply interrupted the channeling when the 5th star orbit was completed. Otherwise, the others would think that he was an unqualified summoner. Little Flame Bell hopped out of the contracted space with high anticipation, just so she could see the speechless expression on Mo Fan's face. Unfortunately, Mo Fan was too smart to be tricked. She immediately puffed her cheeks, her eyes saying, "I am very not happy." However, Little Flame Bell was a very obedient kid, after all. She was only angry for a brief while, as she knew that the bad guys had made her father not happy too, like, extremely not happy. "Don't show any mercy," Mo Fan said to Little Flame Bell. Little Flame Bell was basically an evil demoness. As soon as she heard the restriction was lifted, the calamity fire in the form of fiery storms immediately swept through the surroundings, devouring the restless dark beasts within 10 meters. Lu Ru was killing the creatures one after another elegantly, allowing her to perfectly preserve her strength. Meanwhile, Little Flame Bell was being completely unreasonable. She simply had the urge to fully unleash all the flames inside her body, producing a destructive festival of fire similar to the fire calamity. Luckily, Lu Ru had already experienced this before. She immediately leapt into the air when she saw Little Flame Bell preparing her attack, just so she was high enough to avoid the flames. The Little Flame Bell had never turned off her friendly fire mode. Chapter N. Versatile Mage. Chapter 632. Leave None Alive. The flames were Little Flame Bell's people. Any fiery spirits would obey her unconditionally. The fire magic of magicians followed the rules of star patterns. The flames produced would usually be restricted to fixed forms, yet the flames that Little Flame Bell used were totally under her control. If she wanted the flames to spin like a tornado, the fire would simply transform into a tornado with her at the center. If she wanted the flames to turn into Godzilla, like she had seen in anime, the fire would take the shape of a fiery monster dashing forward. If she wanted the flames to split into countless fireballs following the dark beasts like tails, they would obey her, forcing the dark beasts to flee in all directions from the fires. Among the 80 dark beasts, Lu Ru had already killed over a dozen of them. The remaining 50 were nowhere near enough to entertain Little Flame Bell. In just a few moments, half of the dark beasts were dead, while the other half, suffering severe burns, had retreated a few hundred meters away from her. If they were not being controlled by the black clergy, they would have fled for their lives. Little Flame Bell instantly brought chaos to the place. Such a big mess was the last thing the female deacon wanted to happen. If Fang Gu happened to turn up at this moment, their entire plan would go down in ruins. Her face was utterly dark. It was obvious that this magician's strength was far stronger than she had imagined. The female deacon glanced at the army of undead approaching the place. The Black Ocean was still around 2 kilometers away, yet it felt like it was already within a few feet, devouring everything it came across. "A bunch of useless pricks," cursed the female deacon. The energy ripple of advanced magic was too strong and would attract the attention of the Imperial magicians who were looking for Fang Gu, too. It was also the main reason why she was hesitant to attack. However, she knew she had no choice but to interfere, considering how the situation was turning out. Not only would they miss the chance of capturing Fang Gu, but they would also all be devoured by the ocean of undead. Not a single bone would be left. The female deacon raised her head. Her eyes, caked with thick makeup, emitted an icy blue flicker. The star orbits were drawn quickly, forming a star pattern under the female deacon's heels in an instant. In the following second, another icy white star pattern appeared, blossoming like a giant snowflake glowing brightly above her head. More star patterns continued to appear in different places before they were connected into an icy star constellation. An advanced ice spell. The female deacon was an advanced magician, as they thought. In the past, Mo Fan would simply run away without hesitation upon stumbling into a magician of this level. He had zero chance against an advanced magician. He could not even survive a single advanced spell. This time, when his enemy attacked, he made his move too. He could not help but admit that the female deacon was drawing star patterns faster than he could. Unfortunately, she had to draw 7 star patterns to complete the star constellation, while Mo Fan only needed to complete an intermediate spell. Little Flame Bell, Possess. As soon as Mo Fan finished drawing the star pattern, raging flames surged upward from his feet. His hair and shirt were lifted in the rising hot air. Icebound Coffin. The female deacon coldly uttered the name of the advanced ice spell, turning the raindrops into ice falling densely from the sky. Meteorite Fist. 9 dragons. Mo Fan was even quicker. The flames he was engulfed in were so strong that the cursed beasts did not even dare to get close to him. The female deacon giggled when she saw Mo Fan's star pattern. Did he really think casting an intermediate spell at a faster speed was enough to stop her icebound coffin? Was he assuming that the 7 black clergy standing beside her were plain decoration? Did he really think they did not have any defensive spells? However, as Mo Fan's fiery aura continued to rise to an extent that even her frosty aura was close to being overwhelmed, she began to panic. The channeling of the icebound coffin was interrupted. The female deacon glanced at the 2 black clergy standing in front of her, who were casting light protection and rock barrier to protect her, yet she could already sense the destructive aura surging in her direction. The 2 intermediate spells were nowhere near enough to defend her from the attack. The fiery dragons uttered a huge roar. Even the park was quaking slightly at the blast. The fiery dragons danced wildly, flying past the dark beasts that were running in all directions. The creatures evaporated instantly, even though the fiery dragons did not make contact with them. The dark beasts close to the dragons were burned into ashes. The energy of the wild flames struck the 2 black clergy blocking in front of the female deacon. Similarly, the 2 black clergy were burned into ashes despite the defensive intermediate spells shielding them. The light protection and rock barrier did not stand any chance against the fiery dragons. The fiery dragons lunged forward and reached the deacon. The deacon reacted fairly quickly. She summoned a zero ice shield. Meanwhile, Mo Fan's meteorite fist swept across the sky, burning all the plants along its path, before its strength finally reduced after it collided with the female deacon's zero ice shield. The imperious flames split to the sides as they struck the zero ice shield. The deacon was knocked sliding together with her shield, before slamming into the side of the monument behind her. The carven base instantly shattered and collapsed to the ground. The path that the woman was knocked flying had a long, deep ravine, with scorched ground along both sides. Inside the burning undergrowth, the deacon's zero ice shield was destroyed, its pieces scattered across her surroundings. She rose to her feet, trembling. Both her hair and mink coat were burned beyond recognition. Meanwhile, her mouth was full of blood, rising from her chest and leaking out from her lips. Between her and Mo Fan stood scorched land and little sprouts of flames that had left the place in a mess. On top of that, her face was covered in soot and filled with astonishment. An intermediate spell. Was that really an intermediate spell? Even though she was an advanced magician that had only ranked up quite recently, she was still able to control the power of the advanced level and stomp any intermediate magicians at will, but somehow, she was now suppressed by an intermediate magician. If she had not summoned the zero ice shield in time, she would have ended up just like the 2 black clergy who were defending her. Fiery Fist. Was that really the intermediate fire spell? Fiery Fist. Even advanced spells are not much stronger than that. You just had to choose to be an asshole when you could just live as a human. You dogs who obey Salon's orders, I'll kill every single one of you. Mo Fan's bloodshot eyes burned with rage as the fury in his chest exploded. A punch alone was nowhere near enough for Mo Fan to vent his anger after learning the truth behind the calamity of Bo City, nor was it enough for him to get over the sorrow he felt when Zhu Zhaoting begged him to end his life. Today, Mo Fan would not let any member of the Black Vatican leave alive, including the Blue Deacon. Chapter N. Versatile Mage. Chapter 633. Sanguinary Red Skeleton. The flames erupted once again. Even though it was not as powerful as the first time Mo Fan was possessed by the flame bell, the 4th tier Fiery Fist was already violent and surging. The female deacon was not a very experienced advanced magician. Her defense was punctured, and her severely injured body was unlikely to survive Mo Fan's 4th tier Fiery Fist. Fiery Fist. 9 dragons. Mo Fan was a lot faster at drawing star patterns than he was in the past. Being able to draw a star orbit with a single thought allowed him to instantly finish a star pattern. The blazing red energy of the rose flame circled him. The fiery dragons burst forward and spread out in the shape of a burning fan formed from 9 dragons. The lava splattered and the sparks splintered. The plants in the park were burned into ashes, while the raindrops falling from the sky evaporated instantly from the heat unleashed by the fist. The woman was enraged and ashamed. The pain in her chest and the burns from the flames were disrupting her channeling speed. She barely summoned out some pieces of ice when the 9 fiery dragons lunged at her. The ice pieces combined into 6 steely chains the color of ice. They completely intertwined with one another before colliding with the 9 dragons. The female deacon's ice lock was obviously only at the 3rd tier, and since the collision between the fire and ice was very close to her, she was still caught in the impact of the explosion. Her armor could no longer provide any defense, and the shock wave sent her flying again, almost hurled into the street. The ice chains broke into pieces inside the flames, and soon melted into water. The woman never expected she would be in such a pinch, even though she was an advanced magician. She had been too careless. If she knew her opponent had the 4th tier Fiery Fist, she would have used her subordinates as cannon fodder, giving her the chance to finish him with the advanced spell Icebound Coffin. Now, she was in a very disadvantageous position. She had no chance to draw an ice star constellation. Damn it, if my water element had reached the advanced level 2, I would have easily defeated this kid. The woman clumsily climbed over the fence of the park. The advanced water spell, Water Curtain, was the perfect defensive barrier. If she had the chance to construct a water curtain before channeling an advanced spell, the kid would have no chance of harming her even if his fist wore out. She had to admit that her advanced level ice element was completely suppressed by her opponent's ability. What are you waiting for? Kill him. Her skin was already festering from the burns. She screamed at her other 5 subordinates like a monster. The 5 black clergy were intermediate magicians, too. Although they would most likely be killed by the kid with a single punch, anything was better than her, a blue deacon, dying. The 5 black clergy were dumbfounded. 2 of their comrades had already been blasted into ashes just a few moments ago, even after they were shielded by a light protection, sacred shield and a rock barrier. The power of the punch that the fire magician threw was too destructive for them to handle. However, if they did not make their move, they would all die, too. As such, they proceeded to command the cursed beasts and start drawing star patterns. 5 black clergy attacking simultaneously was not to be underestimated. Each of them was able to cast intermediate spells, but their channeling speed was too slow compared to Mo Fan's, not to mention their lack of soul seeds. Star patterns of different colors appeared under their feet. Soon, the brown-haired black clergyman completed a plant spell. Green vines began to grow from the ground under his feet. At the same time, a crimson-red shadow appeared behind him. Its icy, emotionless eyes were staring down at the plant magician's head. The crimson-red shadow attacked at lightning speed. Its skeletal hand grabbed the man's head and crushed it to pieces, like it was pinching a watermelon. The plant magician was totally clueless about what just happened. His eyes popped out and fell to the ground, still in a widened state, as if he was trying to see what had killed him. The other 4 black clergy were still busy drawing star patterns. Their bodies were splattered with blood before they could react. One of them turned around and shockingly discovered an enraged skeleton standing there. Undead. But when did this undead? The crimson-red steel skeleton was utterly savage. It grabbed another black clergyman and tore him in half with brute force. Not far away, Su Shaoluo and another villager almost fainted. They had witnessed death before, but never as gruesome as this. The blood-red skeleton was incredibly fast. After it killed 2 of the black clergy instantly, it suddenly thrust its arm forward. The limb transformed into a long spear, puncturing the chest of another black clergyman. The black clergyman was stuck on the skeleton's arm. He did not die instantly, yet he was flung to the ground by the skeleton like trash, his life force and blood draining away slowly. The remaining 2 black clergy reacted fairly quickly. They immediately summoned the cursed beasts back to protect themselves. 2 cursed beasts made it back in time and pounced at the skeleton's head and legs, trying to destroy it with the sharp claws. A piercing metallic screech resulted. The 2 cursed beasts basically hit a piece of steel, leaving only faint marks on the skeleton. The crimson-red skeleton grabbed the head of the cursed beast that was running toward it and slammed it in the direction of the other cursed beast. The 2 cursed beasts collided with one another and fell to the cement stairs, which were destroyed. By the time they got back to their feet, the arms of the crimson-red skeleton had swiftly transformed into bone hammers. The bone hammers rose above its head and struck down fiercely at the cursed beasts stacked on top of one another. The cement of the lot immediately cracked for 10 meters around the impact point, like a great spiderweb. The bone hammers were lifted up and sent down again. A ring of dust drifted into the air, while splinters and bloody flesh splattered across the place. The crimson-red skeleton leapt into the air. This time, it stretched the bone hammers into a full crescent and with a thunderous roar, slammed them down like a bolt of crimson-red lightning. The 2 cursed beasts did not have a chance to struggle. As the stairs were smashed into a pit, the minced meat the creatures had turned into simply filled up the hole. Such violence and rage left the 2 remaining black clergy trembling in fear. When they finally remembered to run away, the shadow of the bone hammers loomed over them. Chapter N. Versatile Mage. Chapter 634. Traitor. Another loud crash took place. The 2 black clergy did not survive either. Not even their bodies could be found. Lu Ru, who was fighting against the other cursed beasts, was astounded. Obviously, the crimson-red steel skeleton was Fang Gu's undead. If he actually used this skeleton to attack the people of Hua village, not a single one would have survived. The skeleton's strength was too overwhelming. Even the warrior-level cursed beasts were killed in just a few blows. As there were 2 lesser cursed beasts now, Lu Ru suddenly felt the pressure lifted off her shoulders. Meanwhile, the crimson-red skeleton seemed like it had yet to fully enjoy itself, and it continued to charge toward the cursed beasts and dark beast monsters and butcher them. Little Flame Bell's crisp voice appeared beside Mo Fan's ear. She was telling Daddy Mo Fan that the new missile had been loaded, ready to fire at any time. Mo Fan's lips curled into a cold grin. He was staring at the female deacon, who was still trying to set up her defense. An advanced magician. He had never seen any advanced magician weaker than her. Having more layers of defense would not make any difference, as long as they were not advanced spells. Little Flame Bell's meteorite fist could easily blast her into ashes. The woman's face contorted when she saw the other brown flame rising from Mo Fan's body. She could barely resist his 4th-tier fiery fist, but if Mo Fan were to attack with the meteorite fist that was equivalent to an advanced spell, even a few extra lives were not enough for her to survive. Brown, red, the 2 flames combined together. It was none other than the combination of the meteorite fist from Little Flame Bell's possess and the 4th-tier fiery fist, the super fiery fist that had sent the flesh-mound corpse official flying. Stop! Stop it! As Mo Fan unleashed his murderous aura, a fairly timid voice appeared. I'm telling you to stop. Otherwise, your friend is going to die. The voice grew firmer. He was grabbing onto a magical weapon which looked like a dagger. The dagger was held right at Zhang Xiaohu's neck. It could easily slice his throat open. Zhang Xiaohu's expression remained blank as usual. He did not show too much reaction even when a sharp weapon was held at his throat. Mo Fan frowned and glanced at the person coldly. Hong Jun, what are you doing? Snapped Su Xiaoluo furiously. Chief Xe Sang was confused, too. He glanced at Hong Jun, who had suddenly grabbed Zhang Xiaohu and blurted out, Hong Jun, the Black Vatican are not good people either. What are you doing? Chief, do you not understand still? Mo Fan wore a mocking grin as he was able to see the truth with a single glance. Ha ha, well done. Who would have thought that a little grey priest would be useful at such crucial times? Nice job. I'll take you up once we're done here. You're smarter than those clergy that died. The female deacon suddenly burst out laughing. Hong Jun, how could you? We are people from the villages. We are obliged to follow the teachings of our ancestors. Su Xiaoluo was stunned too. She never thought Hong Jun was one of the Black Vatican. But Hong Jun had stayed in the village just like anyone else. How did he come into contact with the Black Vatican? Humph, don't even talk to me about the teachings. You're just a bunch of people living like primitive tribes. Idiots like you who stubbornly follow the teachings of your ancestors have no clue how marvelous the outside world is, and because of you overly conservative people, I was born in that shithole. I can't fit in, even though I'm a magician, yelled Hong Jun. 3 years? You've only left the village for 3 years, and you've turned into something like this. I swore not to go back after the 2nd month I left the village. If it weren't for the orders given to me, do you really think I would bother going back to the village? What does the village have, apart from a bunch of idiots who either keep talking about the teachings of their ancestors or doing that cheap farm work for their entire lives? The most ridiculous thing is the rule about not being allowed to leave the village because of some god in the wells. Fucking bullshit. Hong Jun vented all his frustrations toward the village. His face was twisted like a monster. But that doesn't mean you should join the Black Vatican instead. I even broke the rules given by the ancestors, chased the people of Sunny Goat Village away, and even stole some of the water of Kun every month, just so your path as a magician would be smoother, just so you could grow stronger than those who ridiculed you, said Chief Xe Sang, whose face was full of despair. It's too slow. The benefits that the water of Kun provided to my cultivation are too slow. You could never imagine what the Black Vatican offered to me, said Hong Jun. Don't worry, once you are promoted to a black clergyman, you can do whatever you want. Money, women, fame, respect, whoever dares to mock you because of your background, you can turn them into dark beast monsters, into your slaves. The female deacon burst out laughing. The 2 flames rising from Mo Fan's body did not dissipate. He did not expect someone from the village would collude with the Black Vatican. After all, the people of the villages were basically cut off from the rest of the world. It was difficult for the people of Black Vatican to blend in, and it would not do any good to the Black Vatican either. To his surprise, this Hong Jun, who had only spent 3 years outside the village to study and become a magician, was already corrupted. Or perhaps, the guy always hated his background. He was a slave driven by his desires from the beginning, and the Black Vatican just happened to be able to fulfill his dreams. So everything happened because of your greed. How are you going to face the villagers who died? Snapped Su Xiaoluo furiously. There are only a bunch of people that lived like slaves doing farm work. Who cares if they're dead? They always mentioned how great and sacred the teachings of the ancestors were, yet they were nothing but jokes to outsiders, said Hong Jun. Xe Sang could not find any words. He had disobeyed the teachings of his ancestors and put the lives of villagers to an end, just so he could satisfy his son's desire to become a reputable magician. He never thought it would come to this. As he thought about the villages that Fang Gu had killed to revenge his people, and his son who he didn't know anymore, he suddenly felt dispirited and fell to the ground, as if he had lost his soul. Chief. Zhang Xiaohu's voice came. Chief Xe Sang raised his head. He did not understand why the retarded kid was calling him. To be honest, I always thought you were one of the Black Vatican, said Zhang Xiaohu calmly, whose eyes looked alive for once. The chief was startled. He did not quite catch what Zhang Xiaohu was trying to say. However, for some reason, he felt that the kid's tone was not as retarded as before. Brother Fan, I'm sorry to drag you into such a mess again. Zhang Xiaohu ignored Xe Sang's reaction. He stared at Mo Fan with a smile. Mo Fan responded with a smile too. The calamity fire and the rose flame that remained burning on him suddenly grew stronger. His surroundings were fully immersed in a blinding blazing red. Those that were supposed to die would still die. Did the female deacon really think she could escape with the help of a mere traitor? Chapter end. Versatile Mage. Chapter 635. Zhang Xiaohu's disguise. Hey, idiot, don't tell me you still know how to say your last words. Tell him to extinguish his fire now, or you'll be dead soon. Snapped Hong Jun. Hong Jun put the sharp dagger closer to Zhang Xiaohu's throat. It almost sliced into his artery. Su Xiaoluo's eyes became bloodshot upon seeing this. She looked at Mo Fan with a pleading gaze, hoping that Mo Fan would not abandon Zhang Xiaohu like that. However, Mo Fan did not stop attacking. The flames erupted from his body like a volcano as he threw the terrifying meteorite fist forward. Damn it, how dare you ignore me? Hong Jun's face contorted. He pulled the dagger with all his strength, slicing at Zhang Xiaohu's throat. He wanted to let Mo Fan know the consequences of underestimating him. Everyone who looked down on him must die. If it weren't because he kept feeling a pair of eyes watching him all the time, he would have killed this idiot who kept sticking close to Su Xiaoluo. He would not have waited until today. The dagger swept past. Its momentum could easily slice one's throat open, yet the fresh blood that was supposed to jet out did not appear. The truth was, the dagger had only sliced across the air. There was no sensation of the dagger stabbing into someone's flesh. The furious Hong Jun could only see a flicker before him, followed by a surging gust. Zhang Xiaohu had already disappeared, and he sensed a great chill from behind. You're a hopeless dumb ass. The Black Vatican is full of assholes, yet you're still willing to be their slave. You who colluded with demon creatures are not worthy to be called a magician. Zhang Xiaohu's voice came from behind him. Hong Jun felt a chill down his spine. He fiercely stabbed the dagger backwards, yet it only caught the afterimage of Zhang Xiaohu's movement. Zhang Xiaohu was already 2 meters away. His eyes were lively and aware. Raising his hand, a strong wind suddenly blew in front of Zhang Xiaohu. The rapid gust immediately turned into a tornado sweeping forward. Hong Jun had no time to react. The wind tossed him into the air. The wind grew stronger, lifting Hong Jun higher up into the sky. His figure was as tiny as a stalk of grass. Under Zhang Xiaohu's control, the tornado continued to rise higher, drawing the raindrops nearby into it. Don't kill. Su Xiaoluo was just about to beg for mercy for Hong Jun's sake. However, the wind suddenly turned sharp like sabers, sweeping past Hong Jun's body, amputating him continuously before he turned into a blood mist. I can promise you anything, but I will never spare the life of someone from the Black Vatican. Zhang Xiaohu said to Su Xiaoluo expressionlessly. The blood rain poured down, falling behind Zhang Xiaohu, who was quite somber. Su Xiaoluo glanced at him in astonishment, feeling that he was now a different person. Meanwhile, the meteorite split into 9 fiery dragons, devouring the female deacon of the Black Vatican. The woman screamed in pain, trying to beg for mercy. However, Mo Fan's intent to kill was as determined as Zhang Xiaohu's. When he recalled that all of Bo City was treated as a mere test run by the Black Vatican, Mo Fan felt the urge to throw a few more punches at the woman's corpse. Little Flame Bell left Mo Fan's body and landed nimbly on his shoulder. Mo Fan turned his head sideways. His cold face finally wore a smile. You did a good job today. Little Flame Bell wriggled happily at his words. Mo Fan slowly walked up to Zhang Xiaoho. Zhang Xiaoho looked at him with a hint of remorse and said, I'm sorry, Brother Fan. It's fine, I know you have your own reasons. Now, can you tell me what happened to the village? Mo Fan did not blame Zhang Xiaoho. Zhang Xiaoho looked at Mo Fan in surprise. He admitted that he had always pretended to suffer from amnesia, acting like he had turned into an idiot. There was only one reason behind it: to protect himself. Brother Fan, when you showed up at Hua village, I almost lost myself. I never thought you would come, really. Zhang Xiaoho glanced at Mo Fan. He seemed to be losing control of his emotions. He was severely injured, only a step away from dying. He did lose his memory for a while due to the strong blow to his head. He only recovered slowly after he was treated by Su Xiaoluo. That night, when they were chased by the Hatchet Corps General, the others were either chopped to death or fell into the dark abyss that appeared out of nowhere. The Hatchet Corps General was going to push him into the dark abyss too, but it ended up sparing his life, perhaps because of his kindness when he turned around, trying to save her. However, Zhang Xiaoho had discovered an unbelievable sight. He saw people of the Black Vatican close to the dark abyss. Zhang Xiaoho never thought he would stumble into people of the Black Vatican on the night of the incident, and they were so near the dark abyss. Zhang Xiaoho was going to take a closer look, but he was spotted by them. In the end, he could only flee as fast as he could, suffering a serious injury. He ran all the way to Hua village, where Su Xiaoluo saved him. While he was recovering, he was almost poisoned to death, making him realize that someone in the village had colluded with the Black Vatican. They were trying to silence him. As such, Zhang Xiaoho could only pretend he was suffering from amnesia as his disguise. He knew clearly that once the Black Vatican discovered he had seen something he was not supposed to, they would send out blue deacons to eliminate him. In order to protect himself, and make sure he could tell the others what he had seen, Zhang Xiaoho had no choice but to put up and act as an idiot. He had waited so long just to find who the person from the Black Vatican was. Zhang Xiaoho thought it was only a matter of time until he was killed, yet to his surprise, Mo Fan came to his rescue. He had come all the way here, to a place separated from the world, crossing the area of Xianxi that no magician was willing to cross. Zhang Xiaoho felt like he could no longer keep up his act. He had wanted to give Mo Fan a hug and tell him what he had gone through. But he did not dare to do so. The person from the Black Vatican would be watching him. He believed that if he showed any sign of recovering the slightest bit of his memory, or even tried to talk to Mo Fan alone, the person would surely notify the higher-ups of the Black Vatican and would eliminate them before they could make it out of Xianxi. But from what I know about the Black Vatican, they wouldn't just leave a potential threat like you alive if you really saw something that you were not meant to. Mo Fan raised his doubts. Chapter end. Please guys like, comment, share, and subscribe.